What is up, everybody? Welcome back to Tuesday afternoon. It is 2 o'clock Central, which means Mental Health Happy Hour Live. My name is JR from Not We're Just Autistic. With me, as always, the amazing Jason, the bipolar DM.
Yep.
And today we're going to talk about something that is near and dear to both our hearts, but more so to Jason. Jason has spent the better part of a year putting this whole program together called Dungeons and Dogtags, where he uses Dungeons and Dragons as a coping mechanism and a way to help veterans and people suffering with PTSD. So, Jason, why don't you kind of take it over and explain a little bit before we throw on the video?
Yeah, well, first, our mission, Dungeons and Dogtags, is to bring Dungeons and Dragons to our veterans and active duty personnel. And our goal is to support our warfighters through gaming. Dungeons and Dragons in the last couple of years, in the last decade, has been studied and been used in play therapy and other types of therapy to help not only children but now adults coping with PTSD, trauma, and other things. And Dungeons and Dragons, the world it is, provides a safe space for them to practice coping mechanisms, coping skills, and social skills in an environment that has no real world risk. So if they screw up, it's not gonna be the end of the world. You just end maybe the death of your character at worst, but in the real world, it doesn't have any real consequences.
And in my case, by the way, you get to talk smack and not have to worry about any repercussions.
Yeah, that's because I'm a very good DM, because I'd fireball your ass in a second if I was somebody else with some of the stuff you come up with. But yeah, you got some good smack. I allow it because it's some good stuff.
Thank you.
And it drives us. And I'm the kind of DM. I believe in the rule of cool, which is something that Gary Gygax came up with, which is no matter what the rules say, if it's cool, go with it. And that makes for some interesting gameplay, some great fellowship. Through Dungeons and Dogtags, we've had veterans connect with each other, with fellow veterans across all branches except Space Force. We haven't seen any of those fuckers yet, but we've been doing really good. Like you had said, it took me a better part of a year to get this off the ground and going, and then all of a sudden, at once, it just took off and caught me flat-footed.
Awesome.
And one of the most amazing things that happened is that one of the supporters I have is Luke Gygax, the son of Gary Gygax, the inventor of Dungeons and Dragons. And Luke Gygax is a lieutenant colonel in the Army National Guard and a great supporter of the military, and very active in the Dungeons and Dragons community too. And so with his help and support, we just took off like a rocket, and I wasn't prepared for it. I thought I was, but we're catching up now. We're building up numbers and players. We just picked up 2 new Dungeon Masters too to help run some more games. So we're looking at right now, we're running 5 games that we got going, or will be starting soon, and hopefully pick up some more DMs and players along the way, and get this thing growing. We set this up in 2 phases. The Dungeons and Dogtags. Phase 1 is getting an online community going with online games. Phase 2, which we're going to try and shoot for this summer, is actually in-person games for veterans in active duty where they're at. I'm in contact with the Moral Welfare and Recreation Department over at Fort Leonard Wood, the nearest military base to me.
Yeah, I was
just and I'm working with them.
Missouri, Fort Leonard Wood would have to be. It's the only base. Within hours of us.
Yep. So they're the only active military base. I mean, we got National Guard bases here in Missouri, but as far as an actual active duty military base, Fort Leonard Wood is the only one. They have a basic training going on there too. That's where I did my boot camp. And hopefully when I hear back from them, I just sent out an email this morning. Hopefully when I hear back from them, would be willing to let us on base and get some games going for our soldiers.
Nice, nice. And the one thing that I think is really cool. I mean, I loved and I met Jason 3.5 years ago playing Dungeons and Dragons on Friday night in the back of our local comic book store, which was so cool. And then COVID hit, and we had to do everything online, and it took a little while to get going. But now I'm playing in a Thursday night game with Jason, and one of our players is active duty stationed in Japan.
Yep, she's in Marine Corps Air Station Iwakuni.
Yeah, so
not too little where I grew up at. Actually, I grew up in Atsugi, Japan.
Okay, nice.
So at Naval Air Station.
The point is, it doesn't matter where you live.
Mm-hmm.
It just matters that you've got an internet connection, and not even necessarily a basic understanding, although that would be nice. But this is for newbies, and this is for vets. And if you want to learn something like this, then and you're either active duty or veteran, then this is something for you.
And what's so nice about this latest edition of Dungeons and Dragons, which has been out for about close to 10 years now, is that it's so player friendly, very intuitive, not a lot of numbers, not a lot of math like the previous editions were. And so it's really easy to instinctively jump right in and start playing, and without really knowing what the rules or anything like that. And so that's one thing that's been great with this. Another component, of course, is the internet, which allows us to connect worldwide with people and makes scheduling a lot easier too, because you don't have commute times. You don't have to worry about gathering local people. It doesn't matter where they're at on the planet. They can jump in and play with us.
Yeah, I mean, it's so simple that all you have to do is download the Discord app onto your tablet, phone, computer, and all the voice is there. Jason, you put a camera down on the board so we can see where we are in relation to, well, in this current case, the zombies that we're killing. And you just need D&D Beyond, which is a site where you can create characters for free. And then you got all their stats and everything that you would need right there. So just two little things.
Yeah, what's so great about both those apps is they're both free.
Yeah.
So it costs the veteran and active duty service member absolutely nothing to get involved other than their time. D&D Beyond is free for the basic level, and that's where we create our character sheets, our actual characters that we play with. We can also do dice rolls on there. And then Discord, which you can download, or you can run off the internet if you don't want to download it. You can do that also. Is where we do our voice and video. And like you said, I have a game board with miniatures on it, little characters and monsters, and we use that for our combat rolls. And so I switched the camera over to that and use minis. Although we also have dungeon masters that use virtual tabletops such as Roll20 and Fantasy Grounds, which are great. I'm an old school gamer, so I like keeping it simple. But we have some great games going on with Dungeons and Dogtags.
Yeah, and to be clear, the D&D Beyond is free, but if you start playing a little more and you need to create more characters, $2.99 a month.
Yeah.
So nothing that's going to really kill you.
Yeah, and if you get into being a dungeon master as well, I would highly recommend getting the upper tier for D&D Beyond, because then you'll have unlimited number of characters, unlimited number of players, all that kind of good stuff, and all those little bonuses and perks that come with it. And so it's a great program. It's growing leaps and bounds and always expanding. So if it's got something you'd like it to have that they don't have yet, it's probably coming out pretty soon, or will be coming out in a bit. Such as, I would love for D&D Beyond to track NPCs separately from regular player characters, the non-player characters, the people that I run as a dungeon master, so that I can keep their stats and everything like that, but keep them separate from everybody else so nobody else can look at them. But
right.
They haven't done that yet, and I voiced my opinion, so hopefully they'll listen and make some upgrades.
All right. Well,
But
hey,
otherwise, a great program.
Jason, you've put together a short video that we're going to show right now. So let's take a look at that. Very nice. Very nice.
Yeah.
So I do want to say that Jason and I are also putting together sometime. We're going to work on it after the first of the year. A game, something like Dungeons and Dogtags, but for people that are on the autism spectrum.
Yeah, and that would be our League of Extraordinary Adventurers that we've been toiling hard at get off the ground too.
Yes.
And under the similar fashion, it gives a great safe space for coping mechanisms, coping skills, social skills, all those things that people on the spectrum need to practice without with positive feedback, but without again real world consequences. So
Right.
it's fantastic what Dungeons and Dragons has done to the mental health community in recent years. The statistic that I put up there on the video is that every day 22 veterans take their own lives, and suicide prevention and mental health is one of the cornerstones of Dungeons and Dogtags. We actually on our Discord server have a mental health room where people can discuss mental health issues. We have a couple of docs that are trained in psychology and in using Dungeons and Dragons and play therapy to help monitor those rooms. We are really big about education, and we believe that the way to end this stigma of mental illness and mental health and mental wellness is through education. And by doing that, we're going to lower that number from 22 a day to 0 if we can.
Yeah, well, that is a lofty goal, but one that is certainly attainable at some point. So, yep. Jason, why don't you tell us a little bit about what some of the benefits are that people will get from playing Dungeons and Dragons?
Well, the first thing you're going to get is you're going to be able to unplug from the real world, which is really nice for people like us that are constantly bombarded and trapped in our own heads, especially with the things that we've seen, the things that we have done, things that have been done to us. And Dungeons and Dragons, first and foremost, gives us a place that we can escape from all that, and to be somebody else, and for a time enjoy that peace away from it all. That's the first and foremost thing.
Yeah, and you create your own characters and you can either create them like yourself, or in most cases, take things that you would love to do or love to be, and
Mm-hmm.
just don't have the ability to do it in the real world. You know,
Yeah,
you
and
might,
those are the two polars of gaming with Dungeons and Dragons and character creation, which is making a character very much like yourself versus one that's completely opposite of you, either opposite or an idealized version of yourself. And there's benefits and cons to both of those. But you know what? The coolest thing about it is it's your character and how you want to create it and how you want to play it. So I don't step in and tell you, no, you can't do that or you can't be that. I don't, when I do party makeups, like, the members of the party, I don't have slots to fill, such as we need to have a healer, we need to have a meat
right.
shield to take damage, we need to have a wizard. I like people to choose the characters they want to play, let the chips fall where they may. And if we have an unbalanced party, I can fix it. I can either
Yeah.
put an NPC in there to balance it out, or they're just going to have to learn how to deal with it, which is a great thing for them to do too, is to improvise, adapt, and overcome.
Yeah, and to be clear, we're using some jargon here. A meat shield is just someone who's a fighter who all he does or she does is go to the front of the pack and take the brunt of it, so the rest of us can
Yep,
get through. God bless,
exactly.
God bless the meat shields.
Yeah, I mean every character, especially when you put a party makeup together, is essential. And even if you don't think that you have a big part in it, everybody's important within the party, and that's the basics of the team, which is the smallest unit other than the individual soldier in the military is the team. And so a lot of these guys and women who served, they were part of teams. And one of the things that we lose when we come back to the civilian world is that connection, that brotherhood, sisterhood that we had in the military, and those bonds under duress that we formed, whether it was through basic training, whether it's through combat, however it is, we formed a lot of bonds with each other over shared suffering. And but to be but as far as party makeup goes, I love people playing what they want to play. I love people
Yeah,
choosing their own characters and trying something different. Even that's another thing I love. You yourself are trying out a new character, that class that you haven't tried
yeah.
before in one of our games.
I normally play a high elf rogue arcane trickster, which is basically a con man and a cat burglar kind of put into one. And
Mm-hmm.
this time, since we are playing, our location is in the jungle and we're fighting zombies, I made a female wood elf character who has a ranger who has a military background in leading special forces, is quite proficient with the longbow, and
Mm-hmm.
her favorite weapon probably is her magical halberton, which is basically Thor's hammer with like a 3-foot handle on it.
Mm-hmm.
And she also uses her, shall we say, elven gifts to, to persuade people and to get them to do what she wants them to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm speaking physical gifts, not mental gifts.
Yeah. and and yeah, and
Not
it's
to be a pig.
great to be able to try that kind of stuff out. Bending the gender rules,
And,
bending all that kind of stuff. And trying new things out.
and Lorelai has a purple panther,
Yep.
a purple leopard named Pumbaa.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and yeah, so so I allowed you to have a animal companion, which is part of your class, which has been great because Pumbaa has been fucking stuff up, monsters and all that. So doing outstanding fights.
Yeah, I'm
Got
more
knocked
bummed
down
that
once, but got right back up, after a good heal spell.
Pumbaa's been taking out more people than I have, and I'm kind of proud and kind of disappointed.
Yeah. But that's what's so cool about Dungeons and Dragons is the only limits is what you place on yourself, as far as your imagination goes, because the rules are so great, so flexible that you can create just about any kind of character you want, whether it's from Hollywood movies, whether it's from comic books, from folklore. We can make it happen, and and you don't have to just stick with the standard, what we got in the book.
Right.
And that's been great too for a lot of our experienced players who want to stretch their legs and try something different, try something new, like with the Artificer class, which is basically a tinkerer who uses uses a combination of magic and technology together, to do all kinds of bad things. And but yeah, it's just it's been great seeing how everybody's been taking on their roles in the game, and playing and having some good time. We've had some great fellowship, just amongst ourselves.
Oh,
When we
absolutely.
have a moment down, when I'm setting up the mini board or something like that, and we got some time to bullshit and chat. It's been great just to have that chatter again, amongst
Absolutely.
us, even across branches, a little cross branch ragging, of course.
Yeah. Although I am, I'm not thrilled with the person who uses the phrase "effing squid"
Yeah,
directed towards me since I was in the Navy. You know, but
yeah,
whatever. And going on what you were saying about choosing names.
mhm,
I mean, I love that. I have fun with names. I've had a character named Tyrion Lannister.
mhm,
I've had another character that I'm using in another game right now is Crazian Stealth Master.
mhm,
But my favorite of all time, when we played live in at Comic Force in Branson, Missouri, now with a location opening up in Springfield, Missouri, by the way.
mhm.
Every character she named Jeff Goldblum. She just had a thing for Jeff Goldblum.
Yep.
So, yeah. And, the cool thing is you can make up stuff on your own. You can go online and just Google fantasy name generator
Mhm.
and, tell it what kind of character it is, if it's a barbarian or if it's a ranger or if it's an elf or if it's a dwarf or a goblin.
Yeah.
And it'll come up with some versions, some names that are suggestions. And a lot of time I've taken first name from one, last name from another,
Mhm.
or just use those as inspiration and tweak them a little bit.
Yeah, and I do that too with my non-player characters. Internet has been awesome for research, for generating random characters, stuff like that, and so yeah, the internet has been a great resource for me and for our players who are exploring the world of Dungeons and Dragons, and it's there's a lot of great sites out there to help you out.
Yeah, and the one thing that's really cool, and by the way, we are going to get them on the show sometime early next year. There's a company called Geek Therapeutics
Mm-hmm.
that actually trains people in using role playing games as therapy. You can also find a listing of people that are trained in your area, and some of these include, therapists, people with masters in social work, psychologists that
Mm-hmm.
now are seeing the benefits of role playing games in their treatment of mental health issues.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it helps cover some of the most common ones that we know of, such as post traumatic stress syndrome, and other
Depression,
traumas.
anxiety.
Yeah. Yeah. And it also helps with other mental illness issues, such as borderline personality disorder, where we have difficulty controlling our actions and the things that we say and do. Bipolar disorder. It's not a cure all, but it's an
Oh,
outlet.
no,
It's a
no, no.
tool in the toolbox. That's one thing I always say. There is no silver bullet in mental health to cure anything, not yet at least. No magic pill, no magic therapy or anything like that. However, there are tools in the toolbox that you need to have to help you deal with mental illness and mental health. Medication's one tool, a very important tool. Therapy, whether it's psychotherapy, cognitive behavioral therapy, whatever, very important tool. Social networking, also having that social network is extremely important. Something that also is probably one of the most difficult things for a lot of us to do is develop that social network because the stigma of mental illness, the our own inner demons going on, which prevent us from socializing. It's Dungeons and Dragons gives people an opportunity to build that social network too, because they're not just being dumped in a room saying, "All right, introduce yourself to these people," and then we'll then socialize. It's You got something to focus on, something to team building, working together. And through that, you build bonds and build social networks too. And so a lot of our vets in their chat rooms, they've been chatting it up, have been developing those social those social bonds, which is very extremely important in recovery.
Yeah, well, first off, I'd like to say thank you for the cognitive behavioral therapy shout out.
Mm-hmm.
I'm certified as a cognitive behavioral therapist and a certified life coach, and I plan on at the beginning of the year starting a business working with people on those two different things.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing, you were listing all the other conditions. The thing I think, and this is me being autistic, that a lot of us have problems with social skills.
Mm-hmm.
We're not comfortable with them. This is a great opportunity to work on your social skills with a group of people that you're never going to see in real life.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
and
yes, you'll see them weekly or bi-weekly as you play, but you're never going to run into them in real life.
Yeah, and the other thing too is that well, now I just forgot my point. Go ahead, go on. I'll remember it in a second.
Yeah, and to me, the social skills is a big part of it,
Mm-hmm.
but also working on decision making, working as a group, because so many of us, myself included, prefer to work on their own where I don't
Mm-hmm.
have to interact with a lot of people. But the fact is that there are people on the spectrum with jobs where they have to interact with groups of people, coworkers, and this is another great way for them to practice those skills.
Yeah, what's so great about especially this version of Dungeons and Dragons, it's not so combat driven. Now the original Dungeons and Dragons Chainmail First Edition, very combat oriented because its roots are in war games. This edition, you are working with, you have more social encounters, less combat encounters, depending on how the dungeon master in the game is. Our games are a little bit more social, so they do a little bit more of the social encounters, whether you're interacting with a shopkeeper, a king, a thieves guild. However, it gives you those opportunities to talk and roll the dice and see how you do. And so that's what's great. One thing that's another thing that's been great about Dungeons and Dragons is that how it opens up the social aspect of interacting with people. Not just I was pull a sword out and I cast hit you in the face with my fist.
Yeah, I like to talk very quickly. If I don't get the answer I want, I just pull out the halberd and just smack him across the head, which is not necessarily the thing to do, but
yeah, I think in Star Wars literature it's called aggressive negotiation.
oh yeah, I'm all about aggressive negotiation. But
Yeah.
as far as I'm talking about the team building,
Mm-hmm.
it's everybody has their turn,
Mm-hmm.
and rolls and does their shooting a bow and arrow, hitting them with a warhammer, spear, javelin, whatever they're going to do, or cast a spell,
or assisting another player.
or
That's
cast
another
a
thing
spell.
too, whether healing spells, stuff like that. So
Right.
yeah.
But you can talk say before my turn, sometimes I'll say, okay, this is what I'm planning to do. What are you guys going to do to help me, on your turns? Like, is one person going to flank the zombie we're going after, or,
Right.
whatever. So, it's strategic planning also.
Yeah, and working together, cooperating. Yeah, very great at team building. I interviewed a guy a few weeks ago who out of Vancouver who does Dungeons and Dragons with corporations as team building exercises. And so he'll go into these corporations, set up a Dungeons and Dragons game, and most of the people have never played in their lives, but within a few minutes, he gets them off and running, and he has been very successful in that endeavor, and actually has. Last time I talked to him, he had 7 dungeon masters working for him full time,
Wow.
with another 2 in the pipeline and under training to come up. So the benefits of Dungeons and Dragons in all kinds of environments is phenomenal.
Right.
And
And the thing to remember too is the stories and the adventures are not all the same. I mean, you can go online and buy thousands of
Mhm.
pre-written stories, or you can do what Jason and I did for the League of Extraordinary Adventurers autism campaign. We wrote our own story based on The Princess Bride, The Three Musketeers,
Monty Python.
Monty Python and the Holy Grail, and The Legend of King Arthur and the Sword and the Stone.
Yep, it's a montage mix up, all kinds of great stuff in there.
Make it more fun.
Yeah,
And
yeah, it makes it, and that's what's so cool is, and even with pre-written adventures, you don't have to go buy them.
No.
You can actually go off script and create, develop, enhance the encounters that are within it. So, so if you're a dungeon master and you have a pre-written adventure, don't feel like you're bound by copyright laws to go only with what says in there. You can actually make things up. You can develop. You can change things around. One game I got, it's with civilians. One of the players is very bad at metagaming, which is taking knowledge outside of the game that they know of about Dungeons and Dragons, about the world, the monsters, and stuff like that, and applying it to the game in a way that the character should not know about. So they encounter this particular monster. This person looks up the stats and publishes them. So what I did to encounter that, I rewrote the monsters. So while they are looking them up, saying, "Oh, well, this right here is its weakness," I like to say, "Nope. Not in this game." But there's you get all kinds of players, but that's the great thing about it is with the diversity at the table. Dungeons and Dragons, Wizards of the Coast, the corporation that owns it, which is owned by Hasbro, has been very at the forefront of being inclusive at the table, which has been a great thing for the community.
Yeah, I mean, they've actually come up with adventures and stories with people in wheelchairs, and and things like that. So yeah, they are definitely being more inclusive. And, and when you create your characters, you can create them LGBTQ. You can create them with having PTSD, autism, multiple sclerosis, whatever. You can create your character with whatever traits you want it to have.
Yeah, and that's again going back to character creation. Your only boundaries really is your imagination, because we can make just about anything work in the game. And it's been fantastic with the response that we've been getting in the community. A lot of support, online. And I'm really excited to see where this is going. I'm especially excited about the phase 2 that we're going to try and pull off this summer, and see if we can't get some soldiers over at Fort Wood to play some Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. And by the way, just while I'm thinking about it, if you want to find out more about Dungeons and Dogtags, or if you want to sign up, ask questions, whatever, it is thebipolardm.com. There's a huge Dungeons and Dogtags picture right on the front page that you can click on to take it to that page.
Yeah, we got a separate page on that main website for Dungeons and Dog Tags. You can also go to Facebook. I don't put a lot of updates on there. Most of the stuff is done on Discord, on our Discord server, and on the webpage. But what you do is you get a hold of me through thebipolardm.com. There's a link there for messaging me, so you can send me an email. And then what I would do is send you the Discord link to our Discord server and get you plugged in. On the Discord server, we got several rooms. We got just like a regular chat room for people just to talk. Like I said before, we have the mental health and awareness room. We have rooms for just strictly for dungeon masters, and then we have a game schedule where we schedule our games, and the games are listed out as far as what the availability is, what times they're being played at, what dates and stuff like that, and what rule set that we're using too. The majority of our games right now are 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons, but really we're opened up to all kinds of other game systems, whether it's Pathfinder or previous editions of Dungeons and Dragons, such as 2nd edition. We're opened up to whatever the dungeon master wants to run, and as long as the players have access to the rules and the rule set, we have all kinds of games, and we really do believe that we can help support our warfighter community through gaming. And and again, it's not the silver bullet, but it's one thing among many. And I think if we take this approach of many avenues of attack on this thing we have called soldier suicide, we can reduce those numbers by working together.
Well, and I can tell you one thing that I do suffer from depression along with my autism, and there are times that I kind of just don't want to play because I'm just not feeling it at the moment.
Oh yeah.
But I'll get in there and play, and by the time I'm done, I'm feeling a whole lot better. And I come out of the game, and I'm not going to say that I'm out of the funk, but I'm not nearly in the same place in a funk than I was when I started.
Yeah, and I'm same thing for me too. I mean, it's a struggle almost every single game for me to get up and play because of all the things that's working against me. Well, but I tell myself though, it is worth it in the end. Yeah, because in the end, at the end of the game, I'm feeling better. Everybody's happy. Had a great time, and it's a boost, and it's also a break from reality too. To break from those problems that are plaguing you. Whether it's the mortgage, student loans, the ex, stuff like that. You get a chance to get away from all of that and be with your fellow veterans. And the thing about veterans is, in active duty, the military has its own language. I mean, we are a separate culture from the American public because we have our own language, we have our own terminology, we have our own customs, we have our own history, we have our own values that are very different from the civilian world. And so I set this game up specifically for that, so that veterans would have a safe space to be themselves as veterans and as active duty without judgment from the civilian population, because our humor can be quite dark. The way we talk to each other may seem like we're harassing or bullying each other, but really a lot of times that's just how we poke fun at each other and make light of a situation across branches and stuff like that. So, it's never personal, but we do have our own way of talking, and the F word can be used in 27 different ways, but
it's 50, but
yeah.
The one thing I am going to start, and I haven't told you this yet, I am going to start a petition to ban the use of the word squid, because no sailor likes to hear the word squid.
Yep.
Because it is not used in a nice way.
No.
It's a very derogatory term.
But the nice thing about the community and table is that we are open to address those issues.
Oh, I know.
That if a player does have a problem, the great thing about the community is that we're open, saying we can take a break. We have safety tools in place, if the game gets to crosses any lines that you don't want to cross. We have, the no go or the X card, where basically if the situation gets too heated or too personal, you can just say no go, and we skip over it, or we summarize it and move on. And that's been a great tool to have. We haven't had to exercise it yet, but it's one that's available to every single player, so that they can guard their own mental health. And because a lot of times, most of the time, we're not aware of what other people's triggers are unless
Oh,
they
for
discuss
sure.
them.
For sure.
Yeah, and a good portion of the time, we don't even know what our own triggers are. Sometimes, we don't know what's going to set us off. We got the
Yeah,
stuff we know that will do. Yeah,
we
and
know
we got
our
the stuff that don't.
triggers,
Yeah.
but we don't know that could be more out there that we just haven't found yet.
Exactly. And when you're exploring a world or a universe with magic and violence and stuff like that, among other things such as, growth and building and everything, whatever you want to put into this game, you're going to take out of it. We want to make sure it's a safe environment for everybody, that everybody's enjoying themselves, that nobody's being singled out or isolated. And that at the end of the day, we're all on the same team at whatever branch of service that we were in. We're all veterans. We've all served. We've all sacrificed for this country, whether it's been in a small part in my way or the ultimate sacrifice for our disabled vets who've lost limbs in life.
Right.
At the end of the day, we're all brothers and sisters, and having that is worth its weight in gold.
Oh, absolutely.
Because knowing that every Thursday or every Friday you got a group waiting for you that are depending on you to show up helps you get out of bed every day. Take your meds, do self-care. Those kind of things are very important, in your well-being. And so having that people depending on you really does help a lot. That's what gets me out of bed. That's what gets me doing my prep work, is knowing that I got men and women that are depending on me to put on a good game for them, and they'll appreciate it too. And so it's been a great help to me myself with my bipolar, my borderline, having this.
Yeah. Now, Jason, for people that don't know a lot about Dungeons and Dragons and what it is, why don't you just give them a little rundown, say, of like our Thursday night game?
Yeah. Well, think about this. Imagine you're watching your favorite movie, reading your favorite book or story or manga, and you want to be a character in that, saying, if I was there, I'd do this and do that. Dungeons and Dragons allows you to step into that world, whatever the world is that's created, be that character in the story.
Yeah, but Jason, I'm talking about explaining the campaign, like where we are, what we're doing, what our goals are.
I'm getting there. Yeah. Okay. I'm just explaining overall what Dungeons and Dragons is.
My bad.
And then with our campaign, such as our Friday campaign, we are set in the jungles of Cholt. And this is ruins like Central and South America with lost cities of gold, strange monsters. Hordes of zombies are left over from a previous war with necromancers, and they're roaming all over the place. So we got zombies. We got zombie T-Rexes that have eaten zombies and become infected. And then there's also intrigue with different factions and stuff like that. So there's a lot to navigate within this game. And the players right now are just about to enter the jungle. They've done a couple of adventures within the city itself, the main city of Port Nazarene, or Nazaroon, and had some great adventures, and are ready now to go into the jungle. And that's where we left off in our campaign. Is all right, we're ready to go. Let's go. We got a destination that we got to get to. We hired a guide to lead us there. We got the weapons, we got the potions, we got everything we need. We're ready to rock and roll, and that's where we left off on our campaign.
Then, let's also talk about the kind of characters that we have in this game. I'll start with mine. Again, a wood elf ranger, who is. How would you best describe what a ranger is? in
A
D&D?
ranger. I mean, we can go into folklore Tolkien. You know, like Aragon or a strider, the ranger. A ranger is somebody who who works in the woods, works out alone by themselves, and is very much a part of nature itself. Not quite like that of a druid, but
But who
they're a
has,
good balance of fighter and druid together.
and yeah, to me, I look at it as somebody who has, some military skills and, knows how to, stealth around and, track
Hmm.
and things like that. So we've got that character along with my uh, leopard
Hmm.
who just bites and claws stuff. Then what else do we have as far as characters?
Well, we have a wizard named Ichati, and he's a wizard, monk, and rogue combination. So that's a very interesting combination there.
Beautiful.
We have a Goliath named we call him Sauce, but his name is Sosthenes. Great guy. He loves to fight. You know, that's the big thing. He's a fighter. He's a rune knight, so that means he can not only hit people with swords, but can cast some minor spells to do damage. We're picking up a new character I just saw named Tucklaw of Gumbot, who is a Yanti purebred, which is a half snake, half human crossbreed. And that
Lovely.
looks like that's a new character we're going to be picking up next week or Friday if everybody's up for playing. I mean, it's Christmas Eve, so
Yeah.
I
So
got nothing going on. I don't have my kids with me, so if we got enough players show up, we're going to play.
I'm down.
And also I got a game going on Christmas Day for veterans in active duty who are without family, like me
Sign me
and
up.
you. Yeah, which is
Yeah.
it's a one-shot Christmas one where we're going to play a bunch of gnomes working for Santa to solve a mystery,
Cool.
and it's a great game called the Sinister Claws.
Jason, I think my favorite character of the two games that I'm playing right now is Thursday night. It is
Mhm.
a little black poodle who speaks,
Yes,
and no spells.
yes, that's our awakened dog. She had found that. That's actually our soldier in Ayakuni, Japan, who came up with that. She had
Right.
found in the homebrew. I had a previous campaign back at GaryCon when Dungeons and Dogtags was invented by me. That was all about awakened animals. Animals, they weren't anthropomorphic. They didn't have thumbs or anything like that. They were just normal animals. But all of a sudden, the spell happened, and they all became self-aware, and all kinds of stuff and magic and all kinds of shenanigans ensued. Well, she found one of those characters in my stack of stuff and pulled it out and added it to the game. Totally unexpected. Has been a great character. I thought she'd be dead within the first game, because she only has a couple of hit points. But
I got her back.
yeah, but everybody's been has circled around to protect her.
Yeah.
She has done some great things too. It's
Oh,
great. I mean, like I said, you're just limited by your imagination. I mean, who would have thought a talking black poodle could rain so much destruction on the land?
yeah. Well, I think the perfect example of what she can do and how she can benefit the group was from last Thursday when we were supposed to be taking a religious fanatic who's more of a cult of personality kind of
Mm-hmm.
person, and we couldn't get too close without being really noticed what was going on. But the little poodle can weave its way in between people's legs and get
Mm-hmm.
right up there.
Yeah, she has proven that she can get to places that regular people can't, and go where otherwise, I mean, who's going to say no to a poodle? I mean,
Yeah,
a little
and
cute little poodle
and the
who
only
can
person,
cast spells.
the only people she'll talk to with a human voice is the group.
Yeah.
To everybody else, I mean, who's going to stop talking about their plan because a little black poodle walks up? They're not going to think that dog can talk. It's just woof 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 bark.
Yeah. And that's one of her character traits is she's playing her ability to speak very close to the vest. In fact, in the campaign itself, she didn't reveal her ability to speak until second, maybe the
Second or third game, yeah.
third game we played that she revealed to the characters that yes, she can speak, she just chooses not to. And
Right.
yeah, the way everybody's come around to, and the way the teams have been built up within those campaigns that we've got going on has been great. Just how quickly things have been falling into place, especially our Thursday night campaign. We got a really good group there, and things have fallen into place really well. And then we're going to get a Saturday game going on after New Year's. Saturday, the following Saturday, we're going to start a Saturday game, which I believe is the third. The second. No, that's Saturday the 1st. I'm off, so it'll be the 8th.
Okay.
Saturday the 8th, we're going to start we're adding another game to our repertoire of games. So and then
join right there, the bipolardm.com.
Yeah.
And hit Jason up and let him know that you're interested.
And we got 2 more games coming up. Both of them are going to start right after Christmas too, as well. So that'll be a total of 3 brand new games. Our Thursday and Friday games are filled up right now, but people come and go. So always be checking in and see if there's an opening slot, because you can always get plugged right in if we have some players drop out.
And if you're a dungeon master and want to run your own game,
mm-hmm.
You can always do that.
Yes, we are begging for dungeon masters, because we have more demand than we have dungeon masters. Right now, it's just me, and then I got 2 more dungeon masters coming up on the line. But we need some more. So if you're an experienced dungeon master, you love veterans, you like to support a military community and help them out, it's only a couple hours out of your week. I'm not going to lie to you. It's not going to be 1 hour a week. It's a couple hours, but it's well worth the time that you put into it, the time you put into prepping for your game, the time you spend running the game. The rewards are unbelievably high for what you're doing as a volunteer dungeon master with us.
Yeah. And then I'm also excited about sometime in the spring, maybe early summer, getting the League of Extraordinary Adventures off the ground for people that have autism. So that's going to be great.
So excited about that. That's another project that's a long time coming. A lot of blood, sweat, and tears have gone into it, a lot of stumblings and falls, but the thing about it is that we still get back up and we still keep moving forward. And even though we've run into some setbacks, even with Dungeons and Dogtags running into some setbacks, we still kept pressing forward, pressing on the target. And that's what we do. We really believe in what we're doing. We believe in the value of Dungeons and Dragons across the community, and are willing to put our necks out there to get this thing going.
Yeah. So, Jason, we've only got a few minutes left. I do want to let everybody know that we're going to take a short hiatus, and we will be back on January 4th.
Mm-hmm.
And we have some great guests. We have a woman who is for lack of a better term, a life planner, but she helps you plan your life according to your needs.
Neat.
Give you suggestions on, how to do something, what to do, what not to do, based on your mental health or your developmental disability kind of needs.
Okay. So it's a customized versus a cookie cutter.
Exactly.
Very nice.
We have the next week somebody who's going to talk about multiple sclerosis and mental health from his perspective.
Yes.
And then our third guest is actually, we're going to have 2 people who are going to be speaking about mental health, developmental disabilities, and medical marijuana and CBD.
Got some great topics, some great subjects to talk about coming up. We're looking forward to that.
Yep. And I just want to say, as far as the medical marijuana goes, we're talking medical marijuana. We're not talking just, grab it from, your dealer on the corner.
Yeah.
If you're
a lot of great studies have gone into this, some well-paid, real scientific studies have gone into the study of the medicinal uses of marijuana. And so this is not, Dave telling you on the street corner, hey, this stuff will make you feel better. No, it's legitimate doctors doing this.
Yeah.
And legitimate research.
Yeah. And I'll tell you what, I mean, I don't use it a lot. It really helps my social anxiety. and my anxiety when it gets bad. So I'll use a little bit here and there. But I lived in California for most of my life, and I did have a medical card in California where I could use it. And then 4 years ago, I moved to Missouri, knowing that it was not a medical marijuana state, but I moved here anyway, and I did not touch it for 3 years until it became legal, and I was able to get it that way.
Yeah.
So
And,
we're in no way suggesting that anything with, medical marijuana should be done in an illegal fashion, and it never should be done without talking to your doctor.
Yes. Any changes, additions, or subtractions to your medication or your health plan needs to be discussed with your doctor first whenever you're doing that. The other thing too, with the fentanyl surge that we got going on, you don't know what you're getting on the street corner. You don't know what's been sprayed on that plant. At least if you get it from a dispensary, it's pure, it's controlled, and they know what's going into it. So it's a lot safer.
It's government inspected.
Yeah, it's government inspected. It's a lot safer than getting it off the street because you don't know what that stuff could be laced with. I've had stuff that's been laced, and it is no bueno when that happens.
Yeah, well, and it's not just the getting laced; it's the getting popped.
Yeah,
by the cop.
Yeah, that too.
If you've got weed and it's not in a approved container with a label on it telling you exactly what kind of strain you're getting, where it came from, what the potency is.
Yeah, a Ziploc bag is not going to cut it.
And the warning is about, don't use this and drive or do, activities like that. Yeah. And you've got to have your medical marijuana card with you. But if you've got those, you're good as long as you're not smoking the car. But if you just buy it off Johnny on the street corner, it's going to be in a plastic bag, and you got no.
And a lot of things that happen with mental health is the legal ramifications, the secondary effects of mental illness is the legal ramifications that happens to a lot of us, such as us getting popped for drug possession because we're self-medicating, or we're acting out, or we're acting in an unusual manner. And so a lot of us who have mental health issues do also have legal issues that we have to deal with, whether it's divorce, whether it's bankruptcy, whether it's minor offenses. That stuff adds stress to us. And if there's anything you can do to take a little bit of stress off your plate, such as being legal, go for it. Now, we're not advocating saying to use this stuff. We're just saying do it the right way.
Well, and these guests are going to talk to us about what the right way is, and what conditions they will help, what conditions they will not really help at all, and sometimes whether CBD is better for the person with their condition than medical marijuana.
Right. Because CBD, it has no THC in it, or the THC is so ridiculously low, it cannot get you high.
It has
but you get the benefits of marijuana.
Yeah. The limit for CBD is 0.5% of all the stuff in the CBD. 0.5%.
Yeah, I mean, that is ridiculously low. And especially when you're talking about plants that have 21, 22, 24% THC, which is a lot in the industry. CBD is a great alternative to, if you don't want the high, just the benefits. It comes in all kinds of forms, whether it's a gummy, whether it's flour that you smoke, whether it's a cream that you put on, which is great for people with arthritis. Oh, outstanding stuff.
Yeah, vaping
too. Yes.
Edibles.
And so there's a lot of great things that are being done with both CBD and cannabis, which I guess CBD does fall under cannabis, but there's a lot of great things that is being done with cannabis nowadays. And especially now that government, especially local government, is lightened up. Federal government, it's still going to be a little while before it becomes federalized. And I do believe that eventually it will become legal federally. It's just going to take some time.
Sure.
A lot of politics.
Well, the last thing before we get out of here
Mhm.
is we are still looking for guests in the new year. If you don't have to be a medical professional at all, you can be a person with a mental health or developmental disability kind of issue that just has a great story. Maybe you have some tips for people. Maybe you want to talk about things in your life that have gone wrong so that other people can learn from that.
Mhm.
Go to facebook.com/mental health happy hour live and throw a note on there, and we'll get it and we'll talk to you and get you scheduled.
Yeah. And we want a variety of people too. We don't want just one particular diagnosis or the other. We want to see the whole gambit. So,
Right.
so don't think that, oh well, I don't have autism or I don't have bipolar, they're not going to want to talk to me. No,
Well, I mean,
we want to talk to everybody. Everybody
just
has a story.
look at who we've had so far. We've
Yeah.
had a guy who was talking about the trauma and the depression that he suffered from sexual assault as an adult.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we had somebody talking about bullying. We had
Mm-hmm.
somebody talking about just the general makeup of the neurodivergent brain. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
we've had lots of people with lots of ideas. The one about thinking out, not just thinking outside the box, but there is no box.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah,
mean,
that was a great one
I
too.
mean, we've got a great variety, and that's what we want is a great variety, and we always want to make it positive. That's why it's called the happy hour, because
Mm-hmm.
it's an hour-long show, and we want to take away that stigma of mental health and help people live happier, more fulfilling lives.
Yeah. And we want stories to get out there because we believe that through education, through the telling of stories and showing that these are real people, not just caricatures, that we can help end the stigma of mental health
Yep.
and get more people help that need it. There's so many people out there that are untreated right now because of the stigma, because they're afraid, because they don't know.
Yeah.
And we want to end that.
And the other thing is, we don't really push this enough, but the day after every episode, we put this up as an audio podcast.
Hmm.
So you can go to your favorite podcast platform, just put in Mental Health Happy Hour Live. Or if you can't remember that, go to notweirdjustautistic.com, click on the audio video link at the top of the page, and there'll be a drop down menu with Mental Health Happy Hour Live.
Yeah, and I think also I put a link on my page too, the
Okay,
bipolardm.com, a
perfect.
link to that. So it takes you to the Facebook page.
Yeah, so
So,
you can do whatever. There's lots of ways to share this with other people after the fact, or to go back and listen to something that you may have missed.
yeah.
So I guess, Jason, with that in mind, I'm going to say happy holidays to everybody else. I hope you have a great and safe new year. Uh,
Hmm.
if you're going to be in a situation where you're not comfortable, say in a big family gathering, don't be afraid to step outside and take those breaks that you need, because I've learned from experience, screw what they say, take care of
Hmm.
yourself first.
Yes. And remember to take your meds.
Yes. Take your meds always. And with that, we're going to get out of here. We will be back on January 4th, where we will be speaking with Andrea Mason about planning your life according to your needs. So have a great holiday, and we'll see you in January.
All right.